as we go through this session. Feel free to engage. I would like to take the shortest time presenting, and then we spare a bit more time having conversations or talking. Simon, you assist me checking through the chat. So if there is any question, let us engage. Let's go forward. If someone has raised a hand, let's just see who it is, and let's enjoy the afternoon. Okay, so starting off, interesting quote here, that information is the oil of the 21st century and analytics is the combustion engine. I don't know who wants to comment on this. I like from your understanding, you know that this is a teacher talking, and therefore I won't be speaking alone. I would like participants to also engage. So you can just raise your hand if you want to make a comment on what you see. Anyone who wants to comment on that quote? Feel free, raise your hand. Or use the chat.
Yes, anyone with a comment on what Ferdinand has just shared?
I see the chat is blank. There is no hand. Okay, maybe we'll keep talking as we go along. So let me show another quote. There's a chat that has come through. Okay, so very good. So Moses Gitonga says, I guess what is being said is that oil drove the last industrial revolution. Now it's data that is driving growth. Moses, do you want to speak to what you have just typed?
Yes, I can speak. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can go ahead.
Yes, I think what this quote is saying is that right now there's a lot of focus on data analysis, and data is the one that is really driving growth. If you even look at the companies that are being formed and managing to get to billion-dollar status within a short time,
yes,
that is being driven by data. However, even with data, you need to know how to analyze it, because
exactly.
There's a common phrase, garbage in, garbage out. So if you analyze it the wrong way, you can actually get correlation on data. That correlation does not mean that the one data set is causing what you're actually seeing. So you also need to be able to basically analyze the data well.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moses. And there is another one here. That big data is not about data. I used to think actually big data is only data. And then this Gary King writes this quote. I think this is the beginning of 2019. There's an interesting article, actually book they have written, and this is one of the articles. I think it is article 4 of 82 in that process of data. And they say big data is not about data. What does this mean now? Or what does he mean? What do you think he's saying here? If it's not about data, what is it about?
I think I can try. I think it's about the ever-increasing. The concept is more of about the ever-increasing amount of information being generated from multiple sources around the globe.
Yeah. So thanks, Simon. I see another chat from Tunai, which is about information process data. It's emphasizing the ability to use the data. Thank you, Wycliffe. And as we can see, the question here is not really big data. Big data will be there, but how do we use that data? How do we use that information to make informed decisions? And now to all of us who have joined into this call, I mean, there's an interesting quote here that acquiring an education is the best way to not be left behind as technology races ahead. And this is one of the ways we can actually acquire the knowledge. This is one of the ways we can hone our skills in this data and information revolution. So I pray that the urge with which you have joined the call today will keep you going, even as you seek to get more understanding, even as you seek to get more involvement into technology and into the data space. And thank you, Calvin. You're saying it's about analyzing and getting value out of the data that we have. So today, I would like to cover 4 things. I would like us to achieve 4 things. One is we just need to appreciate the value of data analytics and how it brings value to business decision-making process. And number 2, a very interesting part, which is the data and analytics framework. It is one thing to analyze data. It is one thing to have the data, but it is extremely important to have a framework as an organization, as a company. What is your data culture? What is your data framework? And how are you going to engage with the team as you analyze the data? And then maybe in passing, define big data and explain business implications of technology advancements. And probably most importantly for today is what is the difficulty in data analytics amidst COVID-19 and similar uncertain scenarios. How do you even use the data? Or even how do you make decisions with no data at all? And you must make a decision, you must move. How shall we survive all this? Because all of us don't know, you don't know the future, you have no idea, but how do you use data to say something about where we are headed, even with no data? And so I think one of the things or where we start is, sometimes I think we overrate data analytics and we think it is something that is in a vacuum. So it is somewhere in a vacuum. It doesn't involve business. It doesn't involve finance. However, we need to be extremely, we need to focus on the leadership aspect of data. And that's why I start off with holistic leadership. What does it entail? So the first thing is we must have the business acumen. So if you are in banking, you're in insurance, or whichever it is, you must have that business acumen. And even the analyst must appreciate in what context am I analyzing this data? Because if you don't have business acumen, like I think Moses said, you can cause or you can get correlations which you can't explain to anyone. An interesting point is sometime, I think it was in 2016, we attended a workshop and an econometrician or an analyst finished his presentation. Then an economist asked him, what does that mean for our economy? Then he said, my work was to analyze. Let economists interpret what that means. And I think that is not to be said of a serious analyst. A serious analyst needs to appreciate, I am doing this work. It is in the context of this business, and therefore I have to appreciate how to analyze it, even what correlations I'm getting, what insights am I getting, do they make business sense? And 2, we need technical capabilities. Obviously, when we talk about analytics, when we talk about data science, it requires a lot of technical capabilities, all the way from mathematics, statistics, technology, software, all those. Which tools will I use? And therefore, we need a team that is technically capable of actually carrying out that analytics for decision making. And the other thing is, if you analyze in a vacuum, then you don't get anything. Towards the end, I'll be talking about the global relationships that have now emerged because of COVID-19 and all this. So how do I look at the entire economy, the entire ecosystem? So let's assume I'm an analyst in banking, and I'm trying to see, okay, do I only analyze interest rates or banking, credit, or do I look at other industries? Obviously, banking is affected by the other sectors. So I need to appreciate how is it correlated with real estate? What is happening in that real estate market, even during these difficult times? What is happening across countries? What is happening in Africa? What is happening globally? And therefore, I put a story onto my data. Otherwise, the data has no meaning. And then, of course, relationships. One of the things you'll be managing as an analyst, or anyone using data, is what are the relationships, and those relationships within the data and even with the people who are using it. Who is going to use this data? How am I related to them? Is it biased relationships, or how can I actually make meaning depending on the biases of the analyst, depending on the bias of the people listening to the analyst? So some statistics here. So the data trends. Currently, the daily data output is more than 2.5 quintillion bytes. I don't know what quintillion. How many zeros does quintillion have? Technology expert. So any guess? How many zeros is after that 2.5? This is when you leverage the power of technology. You can Google and search quintillion. How many quintillion? How many zeros? So in the next 5 minutes, let's know how many zeros is after 2.5. So we just put things in context. And very soon, this is a quote that is written, I think, in May 2020. Very soon, 1.7 MB of data will be created every second for every person on the planet. So 1.7 MB of data created for every person on the planet. Again, homework for us. By the time we finish, we need to know how many people approximately are there on this planet. Multiply that number by 1.7 MB per second for every person, and then figure out how that will be per year, per annum. Okay, and a wide array of data science roles will drive these massive data loads. So given the data situation, given the data output, we need really very serious data science to handle this influx of information, or this influx of data. And hence, leveraging and understanding how do we use this data influx for decision making. Again, around the same time, the searches for the word data science online over the past 5 years, this is from 2014 to 2019, is 52%. This is the compounded annual growth rate. So if I grow continuously from 2014 to 2019, it's 52%. You can imagine what that means. And therefore you see interesting trends. For instance, automated data science. Can I automate some of the processes I do? So it picks off the web, it goes, scraps information, and then builds for me databases, builds for me dashboards. Can I do that? Obviously, data privacy and security increases, and we'll be speaking about this towards the end, especially given now in the COVID-19 situation, there is no data and everyone has little pieces of data. How can we share this? And in that information sharing space, how do I ensure data privacy and security? Of course, supersized data science in the cloud, which then calls upon collaboration among providers of data science technology. So your laptop may not handle that, because anything you can handle on your laptop is not yet big data. That is still small data which you can handle. But now when it goes beyond that, you're now using supercomputers for analysis. How do you leverage on technology-driven companies that have been there for long? Of course, natural language processes becoming mainstream, and even appreciating how patterns in terms of hearing, in terms of sound, in terms of touch, how do those patterns and pattern recognition then make us make decisions even that we couldn't make before. I am a very strong believer of what we call alt data, what we call alternative data sources that we usually didn't use. An example is a few years ago, we were doing a project with Safaricom, and just trying to appreciate how can I forecast Safaricom revenues. And one of the other data that we used was motorcycles. I'm like, okay, I never imagined the influx of motorcycles within Kenya can actually tell me something about Telkom. And I realized before someone picks a motorcycle, they call, okay? And the fact that those motorcycles are coming, they're actually enhancing the livelihoods, leave alone, of course, the issues that come with them, but they're enhancing livelihoods in places where maybe people's per capita income was not even above $1. And when you actually carry out very serious analysis and correlating motorcycle influx with Telkom, you realize, oh, okay, there is a relationship. Okay, growth of data science roles. Of course, this is growing. Of course, the evidence given in terms of degrees, the jobs that are being advertised. Initially, we used to have only business economists, but now you have all data science roles being advertised quite a lot. And then continuous intelligence. And here is where you need by the hour, by the second intelligence. So you cannot wait, especially in uncertain times. You can't wait for a quarter to happen. You can't wait for a month. You want continuous intelligence. Even in budgeting, we have what we call rolling focus. So you want to appreciate on a rolling basis, how can I make decisions about my business? Of course, leveraging on technology. Very good. Thomas has told us after the 2.5, you need to add 24 zeros. So you can imagine how big that data influx is. And then we have augmented analytics. So initially we have been having where you're using machines to analyze data. Someone needs to mute. Natural intuition that is coming from the human element. So how can I include my judgment and include my gut feel into analytics for me to make more meaning that is more human related? So combining the human intelligence and machine intelligence into data analytics. So what does this mean for business? Okay, so we have, of course, new products and services and markets. Okay, you disrupting existing markets and sitting comfortable businesses. If you are a comfortable business, then you wouldn't move anywhere. Of course, efficient operations. There's a very good analogy that is usually used when you look at companies like Amazon and the like. So you notice that because they leverage so much on technology and data science, they have overtaken companies that are using traditional approaches to business. So of course, efficient operations means that anywhere in your network and anywhere in your value chain, you also need to be efficient. You can imagine right now how much information we have collected using Zoom meetings, using all this voice that is on Zoom and all these kind of meetings, all these emails we have gathered, all these texts we have gathered. How can we use this to make decisions going forward? Obviously, business will not be the same again. As a result, customers have changed the way they select products and services. So, I mean, if it is not efficient to me, I may not go for it. A good example usually is the analogy I use, and not despising any of these two products, but just giving an analogy. Take a product like M-Pesa when it came, and take a product like M-Shwari. So when you look at M-Pesa, it came to solve efficiency, it came to solve convenience and all those. Then M-Shwari wanted to ride on the wave, but it never caught up with M-Pesa because I think it was solving something that, so it came to solve the credit problem, but I don't think the Kenyan person wanted a credit solution. What they wanted is efficiency, swiftness, and if you can keep my secrecy, then of course I'll do business with you. The beauty is banks have now realized, and now fintech is actually taking a lot of prominence in the offering of products and credit to the Kenyan people. Of course, your competitors are nimbler than ever before because of the efficiency, because of the technology. They are nimbler. They can run very fast right now. And those ones we have seen, those ones who have run very fast have remained in business even during the pandemic. And those ones who didn't run as fast really struggled catching up, and will even struggle catching up in the new normal. Of course, supply chains are more complex and diverse right now because of the relationships you have, because of the convenience with which I can get a product currently. A good example is, okay, so for us, for instance, we're in the university space. How will I compete globally? So a student right now knows that I can actually take a degree from Harvard from Nairobi. I don't need to fly there. The flight cost and all those residential costs used to be immense. So how do I, as a Kenyan university, then position myself to compete on such a global scale? What will I be offering that will make a global citizen who is within East Africa to believe in my product when they can actually get a product out there? Probably not better, but the way I've packaged it, the way I am actually, so the supply chain has actually been collapsed because of all this data revolution, technology revolution, and we must also run. So where do we start then in terms of our analytics and data analytics? So we need a framework. Why do we need a framework? Many times I see many of us misuse the word analytics. As long as we have some data on a spreadsheet, we can could draw some graph, and we think that's analytics. But I think as a company, we need a framework where to start from. So how do we navigate in an organized manner within this data science and data space? What do we even invest in? Do we even need an analyst resident in our company? What is the process for solving problems? It is not just about data. What problem am I solving? And then we focus on the outcomes first. So focusing on outcomes is what do I need to get by the end of my analytics? And then, of course, enabling decision making and action. You don't want to carry out analytics that will just rot in your shelf. And then finally, identify where value is generated. Because there is always this question where you ask, okay, we have finished, we have analyzed, so what? And you just want to see, can I add value after my analytics work or project? And therefore, this is the process. And remember what I've just said, we need to start with the outcomes. So this is number one here. So that is the outcomes. Start with the outcomes. Do not start with the data analysis. What outcomes do I want to achieve? Do I want customer satisfaction? What is the problem? Review what are the desired outcomes. Define the metrics you'll be looking out for in your data. And then how do I make an impact? And the framing will depend on the user. Okay, who is going to be using this data at the end of the day, or the results I get? So first of all, understand the problem. And for the young analysts in the call, usually this is where we fail. We are more impressed with the data and the analytics tools than we are impressed with the problem or the business problem. So let's start with the business problem. And after that, of course, you then go to discovery. Okay, so you go to discovery and gaining insights. Okay, so after I have understood the problem, I then develop the hypothesis. What is the likely outcome from what I'm doing? I'll give an example. Right now I'm involved in a project where we are trying to restructure a balance sheet of a company. And one of the restructuring is, do we use debt, equity, or do we use debt for funding, or do we use equity for funding? Now this is 2020. Okay, so we say 2020, we're in a COVID-19 situation. Okay, then we say, okay, 2021, our hypothesis is that elections or election mode will be peaking very highly. Now, of course, we know 2022, you have now the elections. I am seated here now trying to analyze, given all these scenarios, do I use debt to fund my balance sheet structuring, or do I use equity? If I use debt, who will give me debt? If I use equity, when can I be able to raise equity in the current volatile markets? So we look at the data. Of course, this company is in the beer industry. So you appreciate, okay, if I'm using beer, or if I'm a beer marketer, is it possible that I can actually get funding from multilateral agencies like World Bank, IFC, Proparco, and the like? The answer is no, they won't. They won't actually fund you because of the industry you're in. So then I remain with equity. And given the equity markets, we look at the markets the way they have moved over time. We realize, okay, in the equity markets, given the current situation, 2020 may not be a good year to raise. In fact, you even don't have time. 2021 will not be a good time. 2022 will not be a good time. So why don't we raise this capital in 2023? Okay, and what form do we use? And all this we are trying to project, okay, how will this company's equity share price go given the scenarios we have? So use COVID-19 is off 2020, 2021. Maybe a vaccine is gotten in 2020. What will be the trajectory? So form your hypothesis. Okay. After I have formed my hypothesis out of this, then I collect data. What data do I need to inform me about this choice of between debt and equity? Obviously, because it's a listed company, I look for, okay, in equity markets, how are the companies doing in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Africa generally, or globally? How are they doing and how have they been doing? And we appreciate. That is the only time I now start analyzing the data. And once I have analyzed the data, form my inputs, now I can use that in financial model to develop insights. The analysis is to help me develop insights and then make a decision. What decision do we make? Given we are here in 2020, given the future, how do we then make decisions going forward? At all times, link it to financial and operational metrics. And this is where many of us analysts fail. So you're not linking your analysis to financial and operational metrics. Okay, how do you prioritize and then put in place an execution plan that will then give you the desired outcome. I think at this point, I want to engage people in a conversation first. I just unmute and speak about if you just want clarification here before I proceed. I am nearly finishing my conversation, then we have Q&A, but I think this slide is extremely important for data-driven decision making. Any comment, any question? Do you have any other way you would have looked at it than the way Ferdinand is doing?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Simon.
Yes, Simon.
I think veteran, you are good enough. So that's why you are not seeing questions coming forth. You are clear.
Yeah, I'm clear. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Simon. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Simon, for that comment.
Okay.
Okay, good. So my emphasis here is, let us start with what is the desired outcome of my analysis? What do I want to do? And for all analysts, I think if we can focus on that, be it a marketing analytics project, be it a customer satisfaction project, be it a demand forecast, be it data equity financial modeling, what is the desired outcome? Once I define that problem and then I appreciate it, when you go to the board, they will want to listen to you. So to analytics, or off to the analytics spectrum. So any of this is actually analytics. So you can actually do analytics at the reporting stage. And this is where I'm doing some financial analysis. For instance, I get some key ratios, okay, key trends in my financial data and all those. So I do reporting, and I am saying most of the analytics I have seen in this market is predominantly either reporting analytics, so you're doing your quarterly reports, you're doing your annual reports, your semi-annual reports, and then most of the time we just describe the situation the way it was. And the description is, okay, over the year 2020, our ROE was 6.7%, and over the years, maybe 3-year growth has been maybe 20% and the like. So we are just describing what has been there. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is actually a starting point for your analytics. However, as you go up the spectrum, now you start getting into interesting analytics, what we call predictive analytics. So I'm trying to forecast forward next year what will happen, and 2020, 2021, 2022, what will happen. So I'm trying to predict the future. And if you look at our conversation today, we actually need to move away from just predicting a certain outcome to defining the outcome that we need, which is prescriptive analytics. And I'll be talking about the tools that you use in each of these spaces. So my message here is, let us as much as try to move all the way to this, or probably let me just put here, if this is number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Okay, so number 1 being reporting, number 2 being descriptive, number 3 being predictive, number 4 being prescriptive. I would have done a poll, but let me just see, but on the chart, let me see how many are in number 1 in the analytics experience, how many are in number 2, how many are in number 3, and how many are in number 4. Which tools are you using already? Are you using analytics for reporting only, for describing, for predictions, or for prescription, like algorithms and the like? Where are you in your analytics space? You're just typing either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Let me see how the chat moves. I can see quite a number. Christopher is in 3, Lydia is in 1. Okay, we have quite a number in 3. I'm waiting for a 4. Okay, so it tells you that even if we have tried our analytics, most will probably, the most we have gone maybe is up to number 3. You're not looking at beyond that, where you are modeling uncertainty and possibilities, and then creating the future that you want, which is that prescriptive. You're prescribing the future that you need. So how do we distinguish between all this? So descriptive analytics is just asking the question, what happened? Okay, so, and you can use, I'll give you the tools we use. Then in diagnostic, why did it happen? So here is where you're answering the question. If, for instance, let me use my industry. So what happened? Okay, maybe students failed. Okay, I go and try to appreciate, okay, how did I know they failed? I analyze marks and I see, okay, previously this unit people have gotten on average 70%. Now they're actually getting only 50%. So I'm doing some comparative analysis between the grades. Why did it happen? Now I go into the details of what happened and why it happened. I realize, okay, maybe the hours taught were fewer. Okay, maybe entry grade was a problem. When the participants entered the course, they didn't have a good grade. So maybe that is the reason. So predict what could happen to a future class. Okay, future class, what happens? So using past, present, and possible changes. Okay, what could happen? Okay, in fact, here we haven't even gone into possible changes, just past and present. And what is the right course of action? So here, prescriptive analytics is asking you, what must I change? And because that future is not yet here, I can only simulate. So I simulate scenarios and say, assuming the problem was hours of teaching, can I say, okay, why can't I teach maybe 20 hours and engage students online 20 hours? This online component was not there initially. So then I build the scenario and say, okay, what possible outcomes do I expect? And then how do I adapt to this change that I have created based on the best simulation or the best scenario outcome? And all this is the spectrum where you start off from description all the way to adaptive analytics. Now, the tools that we use in these spaces, so the techniques that you use here in descriptive, you'll do maybe someone now here. What are some of the tools we use in descriptive analytics? There are very many people who typed one. So maybe you tell me a few. What tools do we use for description? So for description, we use things like graphs. We use charts. We use tables. We use dashboards. We use many things that you find in spreadsheets. Okay, for diagnostic, now you're checking why did it happen. So here you're trying to check maybe correlations. Okay, maybe you're doing in statistics what we call t-tests. So joint f-tests. Why did it happen? Because you want to form a hypothesis. Why did this happen? Prediction, you can use regressions. Okay, if this is quantitative data and it is continuous, quantitative. Okay, you can go into logistic regressions, etc. So anything that is just saying, okay, I want to model, say, y as a function of x, then you create many x's here. So maybe I want to model the credit problem in banking as a function of age, as a function of amount lent, as a function of employment, etc. So there you're using regression or causal analysis to try and predict the future. Prescriptive, now you come into now machine learning. Machine learning and algorithms. So you start now algorithms. And in in adaptive learning, this is where we said natural language processing, natural language. I will send Simon a document that lists all these things I'm writing here. What do you use where? And then I just talked about augmented analytics. Okay, so here you're bringing in human judgment, augmented analytics, human judgment into your analytics. And you can see as you go down, the tools become more sophisticated, and therefore you need more software. Not more software, you need more customized software to carry out some of these techniques or some of these tools that we are talking about. And as you deal with the description and diagnostic, most of the work you're doing is data handling. So you need data handling software if your interest is to describe. So you just want to appreciate what happened, why did it happen? You can use data handling capability. And one of the tools, MS Excel data analytics tool pack can do this. And Tableau has come out to be a very good analytics tool that can help you just appreciate and understand data. When you go to predictive and prescriptive analytics, now you're going to mathematical and statistical modeling. That mathematical is repeated. So here you need heavy math and statistics when you start going into predictive and prescriptive. The moment you go into adaptive or autonomous, now what you need is computational power. So here, mostly what you need is automation, because the data is massive. You don't want to engage. You've already built the model outside, and you can now go into the issue of automation. There are a few questions you need to ask yourself. Do I have the right people to do this work? Okay. Do I have the right tools to do this work? Do I have the right algorithms? Must I invest in this software, even if I didn't want computation, for instance? So if my work was only data handling, then I need databases. I need simple tools that can read off databases. I don't need to go and invent algorithms or build a whole software to then do for me this work. But if my issue is in adaptive and autonomous computation, for instance, you want to do GIS sensing for geographical locations, you want to do precision farming, you want to appreciate how the data patterns or rain patterns are in a certain place, then what you need is computational power to be able to harness automatic collection of that data so you can use for analytics. So depending on what your need is, then you choose the right tool. And these ones I think you can read at your own time. So this is where my conversation ends. Given COVID-19, how are modelers surviving, or how are analysts surviving? And you can see there, my plea to you is let us all be led by science. I think time is gone when intuition and gut feel can do the work. We need to be led by the science. The science here is the power of data, or data science, that we need to use. And then the whole issue of one for all for one on data. What do I mean here? That it is now extremely important that people in the same value chain, or companies in the same value chain, or even across the value chains, now share information. So information sharing will be extremely important. And even just ensuring that I understand the entire value chain. So I don't lock in myself into a certain space, let's say maybe an education space only or health space only. You want to see how the relationship between the different sectors and the different people are. And this is why I was saying data sharing and privacy becomes extremely important. The COPE model for data science. One of the problems we have is capacity building and tools. Some of us will not even have the cash to employ data analysts. We won't have the cash to buy the sophisticated softwares. Is there a way we can use a cooperative model where you're saying, okay, so if we have a company that can do for us data warehousing, say, let's say Liquid Telecom, can Liquid Telecom then partner with Safaricom, partner with Google, partner with everyone else to then give us capability to carry out our data analytics? You don't need to invest in your own systems, the cooperative model, into this space. Then use the right technology recipe. It is not about investing in technology. It's about what do I want to do. If it is data handling, we have very simple tools that can do that. If it is computation, then of course you need that automatic power. But you must appreciate what do I want to solve so that I use the least cost and get the most value. And obviously, at this time, we need people with different mindsets and different orientations in dealing with problems. So if you took people who are so numbers oriented only into the data analytics space, then they might make very, can I say, not wrong decisions, but limited decisions. If you took marketers alone, they will also have their own feeling. If you took salespeople alone, they will have their own feeling. So diversity and inclusivity in data analytics is more important now than ever before. And to all of us, now though, this is a quote I picked from a very nice article by Deloitte talking about analytics during COVID-19. And they say, now though, harnessing the power of data and analytics is critical to navigating the recovery from this crisis and arriving at a place where you can thrive. The new normal is about change, like I've said, and that can lead organizations to be even stronger post-crisis than they were before. So again, just emphasizing the need for analytics during this time. Thank you very much. Simon, over to you for Q&A and conversations.
Very well. Ferdinand, I must admit that was a very powerful presentation from start to finish. The flow is seamless and very complementary as the concepts have been knitting to each other and building on each other. And I am very happy because I believe our delegates have experienced a very good feel of what it means to use data and to leverage on it so as to make optimal business decisions. Now, I understand that most of us might have questions, so this is the time when we can bombard our expert with questions so that he can address them as it should be. So I don't know if anyone has a question, kindly raise your hand so that we can have discussions on the same. All right, so as members maybe digest. Hello? Yes, is that?
My name is Simon.
Okay, Simon.
Just to expound on this point of corporate model for data science, I tend to think there would be a lot of disadvantages compared to advantages. I don't know what is your take.
Yes, Simon. I think let's approach it from the advantage bit first. I appreciate where you're coming from in terms of disadvantage, especially the whole question of confidentiality and the like. However, if you look at it, let's take an example right now. How many companies are actually trying to go into the data space? So you have Safaricom there, you have Microsoft, you have Liquid Telecom, you have everyone is trying to do something. How much will it take you as a company to invest in your own data warehouse? It will be quite a lot of work. A good example is we've been trying to work with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to try and automate their data and put it in a safe place. So say like in a university space, what Musalia Mudavadi says in safe hands, as opposed to everyone trying to analyze and nibble their small things. Can we get someone who is neutral at a point to then help us coordinate all this kind of data? So in my view, I think we have been operating in a world where it is me and myself. But what COVID-19 has taught us is we cannot continue living this way. We must then leverage on each other, because you don't want a small company investing in their own small things and then it ends. I'll give an example. When IFRS 9 started and every bank was to do something, you realize that not every institution had the power and capacity to do this. How much more if we had a corporate model, an entity like ISPAC coordinating all this conversation? And I think there was a success story where ISPAC came in together with SASRA and said, okay, for SACCOs, why don't we do some massive training? Why don't we do some massive? And so we have seen benefits of this cooperative model of dealing with issues as opposed to leaving entities to do everything on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fine.
So thanks Purity for your comment, and thanks Ruben. Hi Ruben, how are you? He's muted. Simon, is there another hand?
Yes, we have or Ruben, you can go first. Sorry.
Oh, yes. Hi, Ferdinand.
Hi, Ruben. How are you?
Hi, long time. I've not seen you for the last 2 years.
No, it's okay. COVID happened.
Yes. But we'll be together after this.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Purity, your hand is up.
Ferdinand, thank you so much for the awesome presentation. I have a question, particularly to the role of maybe the future of data scientists. You'll see that mostly we're told that in the future, mostly you'll need data scientists. That's a field that is going to be so much in demand. But considering maybe what you've shared, that companies may need to partner with state consultants who are able then to give them these data solutions, do you think that then means that the future data analysts may not really be, the demand for the future data analysts may not really be on the rise? And if that is the case, how do you think someone who wants to tap into that field, what other skills should someone who wants to tap into that field maybe grow so that they then remain relevant?
Okay. Thanks, Purity. Let me start off, or let me put on the hat as a teacher, then now respond to the question from a teaching perspective. My argument right now is, if you are in a field like finance or accounting and you're not a data analyst, then you'll soon be redundant. That I can prophesy. It's fastly coming, and we will soon see that if you're not a data analyst and you're in finance or accounting, you will soon lose your job. And you will see it in our curriculum development. Every course we have developed starting 2015 has a data component in it. In fact, very heavy data component into it, and for a good reason, because that is where the market is headed. So today, even if you're in marketing, I bet if you can do data analytics on top of marketing, then you're a very good marketer. If you can do and appreciate data in your natural role as a finance person or an accountant or whichever field, then you will be a very blessed person. However, being a data scientist or analyst doesn't make you a data scientist. Now, we still have we need people who can enhance the data science bit, which is coming up with new models, coming up with new technology, coming up with new ways of doing things. Now, those must be there, and that is where the demand will grow. So there is a difference between data science and data analyst. So data analyst, in fact, everyone here must become a data analyst. However, data scientists will be fewer, because now you need to go very deep into appreciating what is the computer doing behind for me to appreciate this. You will need mathematicians, you need statisticians to appreciate what is happening behind the computer. But some of us may not be interested in appreciating what is happening behind the computer. We just want to see the outcome and base our decisions on that outcome. So that we have a cooperative model or a co-op model doesn't make then the data science revolution or the data analyst demand go down. In fact, it will increase. Because even if you have a co-op model, I have had a very interesting request recently, actually last year, where you have a banker who appreciates banking very well, and then you have a software engineer who appreciates how the algorithms are working in the system. But they lack someone in the middle, a financial analyst who can interpret the language that the software engineer is generating to what the banker is doing. So they were looking for someone to mediate this relationship. So this software has given me this. The banker is saying this. What is the analyst saying in between?
Okay, thank you so much, Ferdinand, on that. Maybe I can also just a slight concern. I don't know if a selected few members in the room can also have the same concern, especially for starters. I understand that you talked about the issue where technical aspects come in, where there are those who understand the algorithm and what is happening. And of course, there are those who know the domain knowledge of the business, but they don't just use the software. They don't really know what is happening behind the computer. So I don't know your comment on the tools. I understand we have softwares like Python, R, Excel. What is your take on that?
So my take is this. Again, sorry for the bias, but I'll go to the teaching side and then I come to the professional side. On the teaching side, I always tell my student when you come on first day to the university that ensure when you graduate, you know how to code in 2 languages at least. Excel is assumed knowledge, so we won't teach you. It's assumed that you must know. We will teach you in 1 semester, if at all. But R and Python is a must, that by the time you're graduating in 4th year, you know how to code in R, you know how to code in Python. In fact, I'm marking a very interesting script they have written in Python about in a unit I was teaching last semester in Theory of Finance, and they have done an amazing job. When it comes to the work that you want to do in the workplace, my argument is most of the work we do in the office can actually be manipulated in Excel. With a few add-ins in Excel, you can actually do much of the work we do because we haven't gone to the space of data science yet. When you want to do statistics, my bet is R is a very good one because it is free. You don't need to pay anyone unless your company can invest in fancy software, but R is free and the learning and support of R is available. So if you want to do more statistical work, then R is a good one. Now, when you go up into now the data science space, Python is the winner currently. And again, it is available, it is free. The learning curve is a bit steep, so you need to learn quite a lot at the same time. Now, at the apex of all this, I have not seen anyone who is an analyst that knows only one software. And in fact, sometimes you're doing a project that requires all these 3 at the same time, or even more. So the more you know, the better. So the more it's like a spanner person or a mechanic. The more you have in your toolbox, the better. So if a problem comes, then you realize, okay, Python is better at this than R, or R is better at this than Python. And sometimes you can actually write a script in Python that is reading off R and reading off Excel. I can be typing in Excel, but in the background, it is R that is doing computations. So it's just, what do you want to become?
Okay, thank you so much, Ferdinand. I think that was very timely, and I appreciate that at least you have cleared the doubt and air around that ambiguity when it comes to softwares, especially for starters and those who are just into the intermediate bits of what data analysis is all about. Yeah. So I don't know if there is any other person with a concern. You can just raise your hand and then we discuss. Anyone? In the meantime, I've shared with us the upcoming webinar. It will be on customer service, the revenue driver. Customer service during and post COVID-19. So we'll have this on 4th November at 12 noon. And there is the registration link right there. You can simply click on it if you have not yet registered, so that come that time, you will also enjoy another session of knowledge sharing. So I don't see more hands up. I also don't see any other questions on the chat box, but I can see Purity and Dr. Peter Kitonyo actually saying awesome presentation. And so on behalf of all delegates, I believe that we have been very well blessed with our trainer today. And Ferdinand, I hope you will be on standby because as it stands, you have really done a very good job. So I know we'll need you again in future. And of course, in other more demanding sessions, even including physical trainings, where we'll have our delegates come to learn this kind of information. So please, I just hope that you'll be there to be with us. So,
thank you, Simon. Yes, I'll be available.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So in case there is anyone who would like to reach out to Ferdinand after the session, I'll be happy to assist so that we can coordinate and ensure that you talk to him, and maybe he can assist further even in solving issues that you have as an individual concerning the area that you have covered, and maybe even solving the same problems that you might have in your organization and where you work. So he's available. Once the session is over, you can just contact me and then we can have that link up and see how you can take business from that point onwards. Also, I can see some of the delegates are requesting that we have the PDF shared to them. So I'll ensure that Ferdinand shares with me his presentation, and he has also promised to share some other complementary documents, which we will ensure that you have them. And the recording for the session, once it's ready, you can replay it and listen to it at your own convenient time. So even as you build on the knowledge. So I think that is that. If there is any other general concerns, apart from what we have shared today, you can speak out, even as you observe time. Anyone with something? I can see Lydia is saying powerful presentation there. I believe most professionals have data analysis knowledge in paper, except for the practical bit. Organizations should ensure its staff gain extensive practical knowledge in data analysis. Thank you, Lydia, for that. All right, so I think that is it. That brings us to the end of our session today. And I understand that we have personal schedules that we need to attend to in the afternoon, so we will not really waste much time on that. So if no one has anything that is urgent or you want to share with us, I would like to end the session now.
Simon, maybe I can just say bye to the group or the panelists.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the session, and greetings from Siaya County. It is awesome to work from home. So I've been working from home since August. So it's awesome to be here. Those ones who are around, we can always catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Capable, we are also privileged and highly honored to just have you grace this session and host us to one of the most inspiring and career-changing webinar. So this is going to impact our delegates in very many ways, and thanks to you, that has been made possible. So thank you so much, Ferdinand. So I will pray, and then we can disperse. So let's pray. Almighty Father, we thank you so much for this webinar. It has been amazing. We thank you for the gifted expert, Mr. Ferdinand, who has just taken us through very critical concepts. And I pray that you continue giving us the ability to understand and apply our I also pray that you bless his family and take care of everyone during this harsh time of the pandemic. And it's through Christ's mighty name that I pray, believing and trusting in you. Amen. So team, we are free to disperse. Let us meet in another session like this for another value-packed training. Thank you so much.